Mo, greetings and welcome to BUEA, precisely to the Molicom Sports Stadium here in BUEA this Friday night, the 24th of February 2023. As we did promise last week, in last week's edition of Sports Vision, we are broadcasting tonight from the Molicom Sports Stadium on the occasion of the 50th anniversary of the Mountain Race of Cameroon and the 28th edition of the Race of Hope. And in this special edition of the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope, or the special edition of Sports Vision broadcast live from BUEA, we are going to give you the latest as concerns the history of the mountain race, with the first edition that took place in 1973. We are going to tell you more about some of these former winners of the mountain race and get to talk about the transition from the Guinness Mount Cameroon Race to the Race of Hope and to the Mount Cameroon Race. We talk about some of these outstanding athletes, those who've written their names in gold in the history of the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope. It is indeed a special edition because the entire crack team, Sports Vision crack team, has put together an interesting package with reporters in the different regions and likewise in the center and back here in BUEA in the southwest region. For the next 90 minutes, we are going to spice your evening. This is the Molicom Sports Stadium. This is actually where we had the official opening ceremony for the race later. That was earlier during the day, and this is actually where we are going to have the race, the kickoff and the ending points of the race course tomorrow Saturday. We are going to unveil our package after we set the ball rolling with the headlines of today's edition of Sports Vision. Obviously, we begin by talking about the CAF Champions League, where Cotonsport Gawas has continued to secure a second group defeat, this time playing against Al Hilal of Sudan. They lost 1-2 at the Rumdia Stadium this evening in their second outing after losing their first match last weekend against Mamelodi Sundowns. We talk about the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope, the 50th anniversary of the mountain race and the 28th edition of the Race of Hope. The official opening ceremony took place earlier today here at the Molicom Sports Stadium, and tomorrow will be the final points with a winner in the male and female categories respectively. And why not talk about the women's football team of Cameroon, the Indomitable Lionesses, who won't be present who won't take part in this year's edition of the Women's Football World Cup after failing to secure qualification tickets in their final playoff game against Portugal. That was on a Thursday. We will talk about the Lions' performances in their first two World Cup participations in this edition of Sports Vision, with a lady on the board. That's Chanceline Nanze, who will be coming on board live from Bafoussam in the west region of Cameroon. And I should say, on behalf of the entire production team of Sports Vision, we want to welcome you and tell you to stay glued before your TV sets. Tell your neighbors it is time for Sports Vision. Inform your friends that it is not yet 9:30. It's not yet time to sleep. It is time for you to change, zap, and switch over to channel 305 and watch Sports Vision live on CRTV Sports and Entertainment. We shall be back to unveil our weekend package preview just after this break. And indeed, the weekend is going to be an interesting one with different sporting activities programs, not just the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope. We equally have Elite One Football, the Elite One Football Championship with the 14 matches programs for different stadia across the country this weekend. Likewise, we have football matches for Elite 2 programs in different stadia this weekend. There is also going to be the Women's Football League, and likewise talk about elections at the Cameroon Nambudo Federation alongside other sporting activities, where a man on a weekend preview bid on Sports Vision so far, Romeo Kenya, I am told, is standing at one of the highest towers for the CRTV Production Center in Balatu back there in Yaoundé to unveil our weekend package on Sports Vision this evening. Greetings to you, Romeo. We are getting set to get in touch with Romeo Kenyi, who is going to unveil our weekend preview page on Sports Vision. This evening, we are told Romeo Kenny is going to talk about football. He's going to talk about Nambudo and other disciplines concerned with different activities this weekend on Sports Vision. While we try to get in touch, technically speaking, with Romeo Kenny, we are going to continue the program this time around to talk about the official opening ceremony of the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope. I was saying a while ago, it took place earlier today here at the Molikambi Sports Stadium, chaired by Professor Narcisse Moulekambi, Minister of Sports and Physical Education, who is representing the head of state during this 50th anniversary of the mountain race. Gilbert Ongene watched the official opening ceremony and now gives us sights and sounds of this opening ceremony in this report. We are having some difficulties getting access to most of these reports. We shall be coming back, and we are going to observe a break. After this break, we are going to get back to Sports Vision. We are going to observe a break.
La constitution d'un conseil de gouvernement et d'une assemblée avec des pouvoirs législatifs. Et enfin, la fixation d'un délai pour l'octroi de l'indépendance au peuple camerounais.
agataro ilolombi agabani we ngiranka kunde ibe bagalbes ibe bagalbes di beni mil mongel di hoya mamben bis di hoya mamben bis mating mambok marasangal wenjel Jel yo mawanda basambes babijo machel map mabikoba long ya pibe hoya visesema inukundaye ka vale bailololwe ka vale nuruiwe Mohabangle Murasego Angel Mi grabasso gol Ya hola we technique Li bum li koga bang Levanjis bum bum Toyom Akana mange wela Arna yoni yon ya hulus long Arna yon isumbul Boro la biti ninye inu deyo
I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
Man, I took up the world! I took up the world!
Elena Buamo, I should say this time we hope and we believe it is the best. The gods of the mountain, the Fasamoto just gave us the blessings we needed, and we have had those blessings so far, and we are so convinced that this is the right turn for a smooth and hitch-free edition of our Sports Vision. As we promised last week, we are broadcasting tonight from BUEA, precisely the Molicom Sports Stadium. of the 50th anniversary for the mountain race of Cameroon and the 28th edition of the Race of Hope, where earlier today we had the official opening ceremony for the race with close to 600 athletes from 14 different countries to take part in the race course this Saturday. With this edition of Sports Vision, indeed, a special edition where the entire crack team, they're putting so much effort to ensure that in the next 90 minutes, we give you the latest updates with regards to the history of the Mount Cameroon race when it first started in 1973, rebaptized in 1996 as the Race of Hope, and some of these household names who have written their names in gold in both the male and female categories. We tell you more in this edition of Sports Vision. Before we get set to unveil our package, let's give you the headlines of this edition of the program. We will obviously talk about the decimal output of Cotonsport of Garoua in their second outing at the CAF Champions League, where they lost tonight against Al Hilal of Sudan 1-2 after their first competition defeat against Mamelodi Sundowns of South Africa. That was last weekend. 2 outings, 2 defeats considered for Cotonsport of Garoua. And we talk about the mountain race that celebrates gold this weekend here in BUEA, the 28th edition of the Race of Hope and the 50th anniversary of the mountain race. We give you the updates after the official opening ceremony with 600 athletes present in BUEA for this race course that takes place this Saturday. And our darling indomitable Lionesses won't be present during this year's Women's Football World Cup after being knocked out by Portugal at the final of the playoffs on Thursday. The Lionesses were 1 leg into the competition. In this edition, we talk about Lionesses' previous World Cup participations on Sports Vision this evening with a lady on the beat. That's Chanceline Nancy, who will be coming on live on Sports Vision from the West region of Cameroon. That is just a tip of the iceberg as to what you're going to enjoy this evening with regards to our special outdoor broadcast of Sports Vision. After this break, we unveil our weekend package preview. This weekend, we are not only going to have the mountain race, we are equally going to have some football with the 14 matches of the Elite 1 Football Championship programs in different stadia across the country this weekend, and likewise Elite 2 football matches. We'll talk about the Women's Football League, likewise, an election at the Cameroon Nambudo Federation to take place this Saturday back there in Yaoundé, in the nation's political capital. And I'm being told Romeo Kenny is standing in one of the highest towers for the CATV Production Center in Balatu back there in Yaoundé to unveil for us a weekend preview package. Greetings to you, Romeo.
Good evening to you, Bowden. As if atop Mount Cameroon, here is a panoramic view of Yaoundé. And that's how the Athletes shall be challenging the Chariot of God this weekend in BUEA. And they shall be having a panoramic view of BUEA too. But then, it's not going to be all about Mount Cameroon Race of Hope this weekend, because the sport agenda is going to be saturated. And we shall be having football, especially the MTN Elite 1, where matches of Day 14 shall be taking place in some stadia across the country. What about the MTN Elite 2? We shall be having Day 16 matches across some stadia too. The Guinness Super League is going to be in match Day 8. But these are just some of the litany of sport events programmed for the weekend across the national territory. Let's get to the machines to know more about this sport rendezvous. Watch. Match Day 14 in the MTN Elite 1 Championship draws its curtains this weekend with 6 exciting fixtures unscheduled. Group B leaders Bambutos FC of Mbuda will welcome immediate followers Fovu on home soil. The Mangwa boys go into the West Regional Derby with 5 points ahead of the Baham Lads, second with 18 points. Next door in Banjul, local side Njiko will clash with Aigle Royal of Menua in yet another West Regional battle. In Douala, Group A bottom Rock Avion will take on Stade Rona of Melon at the Buna Musadi Stadium, while at the Reunification Stadium, Les Astres, aka Brazilians of Bepanda, will play against AS Fortuna, and Union Nasara Gamakai will host Gazelle Garoua. At the Ngwekele Stadium in Yaoundé, Apaches of Mfu and Young Sport Academy of Bamenda will go loggerhead, and Faux Fazu will match off with Dragon. Elsewhere, the second-tier league enters match day 16. Stade Bertois Unisport, Leopold against Tekase, Dynamo Foncha Street, Ofta Rangers, and Aigle Lausanne will unfold this Saturday. Meanwhile, group toppers Victoria United alias Opopo will face Racing of Bafoussam on Sunday, and FAB are exempt. It will also be a busy moment for players of the Guinness Super League. AS Awa will take on newcomers Ngandu, AS Fortuna Eding, Amazon FAB Kaimang, Leke Authentic, and Louvre FC Ebolova are some of match day 8 fixtures. Meantime, finals of the Cadet and Juniors Center Regional League in Judo will take place at the National Judo in Swa this Saturday. Aged between 18 and 21, the athletes have been competing in diverse kilograms. Still on Saturday, at the National Judo, the training of coaches and referees will wrap up. These and more constitute the weekend sport package. Now, you must have watched it already. That is going to be a palpitating weekend. But then, let's get to a flashback, because during match day 7, there was this lady that distinguished herself during the Guinness Siko. It was a top match between Amazon FAB and a Dingfi of the Leke. Have you heard about Bomben Bull Confidence before? Maybe many of you have not heard, but that's a name from the northwest region of Cameroon. Those who come from Bingo will say they know more about this name. And this is a lady that distinguished herself during that particular game, getting 2 assists that helped our team to grab the first win of the season. If you want to know more about Bomben Bull Confidence, let's get to the machines again to know more about this young lady from the northwest region of Cameroon. A woman of Guinness Siko with an exceptional output in match day 7. Bomben Bull Confidence was simply confident, shouldering Amazon FAB against Eding in a nerve-breaking cracker.
Janko. Prolongement en direction de Confidence qui se débarrasse de son vis-à-vis. Attention à Confidence. Oh là là.
The fast pace forward stopped at nothing, traumatizing the opponent's defense line with easy dribbles. In at least 60 times, her name, Bomben Bull Confidence, resonated in the entire game, and the first assist in the first half sent strong signals. Team captain, very regular for Amazon FAB, sends a long one down the right flank. Bomben Confidence, very speed. The vitality is there. She picks 2 and sends that one. And then the bottom to go! Bianchi get the goal. The curtain raiser. The curtain raiser for Amazon. Suzy Bianchi.
Il faut saluer le travail de Confidence Bomben qui a changé de côté pour aller chercher ce ballon et mettre toute la défense de Dingsport en difficulté. La voici Confidence.
The native of Mbingo from the northwest region, since joining Amazon FAB, has netted 9 goals, unlike it when she plied her trade with Renaissance of Guide 2 years ago as the team's top scorer.
Diane, what a fine play, a beautiful play, and there we go again. Bomben, she was shot in that action.
Qui va alerter Eto. En retrait, Bomben est parti. Attention à Confidence qui va chercher à effacer son vis-à-vis. Ça trouve Estérine. Et voilà le deuxième but. 2-0 pour Amazon FAB.
She aims reaching the echelon of professional football someday to accomplish her childhood dreams. Bomben Bull Confidence is the second child in her family, and she likes eating watafufu and eru.
Yeah, Maureen. From Yaoundé Smile, just like you in BUEA. She says that she loves eating watafufu and eru. Myself here, I love some kati and corn fufu. At times, you could also give me a little bit of achu. and yellow sauce. I know that you are closer to Malingo. Why not UB Junction? Those who can also have some good time can get to Down Beach Limbe to get some mackerel for themselves. That's how the weekend is going to be looking like. From Yaoundé, we say ciao. Until we meet again over Sport Vision. Have a nice time in BUEA. Au revoir.
Thank you so much, and we are already having a nice time with the beautiful people, the beautiful population of BUEA, always ready to extend a hand of to confirm their legendary hospitality. We have been treated like special guests ever since we got to BUEA yesterday. Thank you so much for the weekend preview package on Sports Vision this evening. Romeo, as we take the appointment with you next week on Sports Vision. When we come back, we talk about the focus on this edition of the program, which is the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope. As you heard in the headlines, over 600 athletes from 14 different countries will today embark on the race course to see who will be crowned champion in the male and female categories, respectively, to take over from Elvis Sabila or Tata Karin, who were crowned champions last year in these two categories. Today, during the official opening ceremony for the race, chaired by Sports and Physical Education Minister, Professor Narcis Mwele Kombi, representing the President of the Republic during this 50th anniversary of the mountain race in Cameroon, confirmed government's ever readiness to continue supporting the race and continue making things easier for a hitch-free organization of the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope. Gilbert Ongene watched the opening ceremony of the race and now unveils what was obtained during this opening ceremony here in BUEA.
The 50th edition of the Mount Cameroon Race in BUEA is an occasion for national unity and integrity to be celebrated. The ceremony kicked off with the march past of the 14 participating countries and a colorful cultural display of traditional dances from the 6th.
Unfortunately, the gods of the mountains are not with us tonight. With regards to the broadcast for this program, but we will continue doing that. We will continue pleasing you, viewers of Sports Vision. Just before the official opening ceremony, we had most of these athletes who were busy undertaking or carrying out a medical checkup to be medically fit for the race tomorrow, Saturday, and likewise receiving their jerseys and confirmation letters from the local organizing committee of this 28th edition of the Race of Hope and the 50th edition of the Mount Cameroon Race. And a man on the beat, Dixon Asho, took interest in the latest happenings around most of these athletes and now joins us from one of the dressing rooms here at the Moliko Municipal Stadium to tell us what was obtained earlier during the day on Sports Vision this evening. Good evening to you, Dixon.
Borden, I will be talking to you from this corridor, the inner chambers of the Moliko Municipal Stadium. This place before now was really crowded with the expected 600 athletes that will be taking part in the 28th edition of the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope. Here, they went through medical examinations and had their pass for eventual takeoff of the race tomorrow morning. We've been talking to some of them and have been telling us their experience, past experiences, and how they intend to take on this other challenge. It's not just an ordinary challenge, a challenge that also comes with an honor in running in this edition that also stands as part of activities to mark this race's and 50th anniversary. Let's watch this report and see how anxious and how ambitious some of these athletes are ahead of the race to come. It's the last day for medical examination for selected athletes. The queue tells beyond bounds, indication of great ambitions for especially the first-timers. 4 makeshift medical examination tables run different aptitude tests for the athletes at the inner chambers of the Moliko Stadium. They are received corresponding to their categories. Besides checking vital organs, the athletes are evaluated on body mass and practice routine prior to the race. They are categorized in 10 groups and conformity is key.
The main system that we are checking is to find out if the blood pressure is okay, if you breathe very well, if you don't have any other problem that within the race you can face yourself in trouble tomorrow. So what we are checking, what are we checking as we are trying to ask? You know, when you are running, all systems are involved. So the main system that we are checking is to find out if the blood pressure is okay, if you breathe very well, if you don't have any other problem that within the race you can face yourself in trouble. So up to now, everything is well done and we have no problem up to now.
Champions like current title holders Elvis Sambila and Tata Karin are rare to spot among the athletes. Focus is key to the most ambitious, so no room for distraction. They have all come from far and near, not just for the experience and cozy environment, but the package.
We've been working extremely hard, especially we work on hills at least 3 times a week, not bad, and we're ready for what lies in front. To run every year, this is the second time, but this time I go for relay, not for mountain. I go for relay.
I have been making my practice from Manawabe to governor office in BUEA. The distance is too long. I make 2 times a week from Manawabe, Limbe to BUEA governor office.
There's a lot of factors involved. So what I just try to do is remain calm. I only hope that the process today finishes quickly so that I can go home and rest and prepare well for tomorrow. So I started preparing earlier on since September, but had to stop like for 2 months because of injury. Then I also had for the last 1 month been preparing, not intensely, but trying to work on my resistance. So I've done the best I can, so I can only hope for tomorrow.
Last year I came in with 54 athletes, that I was the one training there. And this year I came in with 52 that I've trained. So you know, when you focus on them, there is no more way that at least you can allow them. When I was alone, when I'm doing my practice, I don't look behind, either somebody is behind me or not. I just focus for my training. But now that when I'm training people, there is no way that I can allow them and go ahead. So I must stay in my tactics of running. So that is why you see me dropping, because I want some people to take my position.
For the first time, participation figures for the race have been increased from 500 to 600, giving this edition doubles as part of activities to mark its golden jubilee. Athletes from 13 of the 14 participating countries have already indicated their presence. One of the special guests of this 28th edition of the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope is Regina Esokam, 1988 winner of the race and multiple times vice champion and bronze medalist. He is one of the 2 legends that have been brought to honor this 50th anniversary of the race, and he is not just a legend, he is an inspiration for the future. It's with great honor we welcome him on set this very afternoon here at the Moliko Stadium in BUEA. How do you feel? Good morning.
I feel very elated to have this opportunity to talk as one of the legends of the mountain.
Okay, now let's go down memory lane. 1988 champion, after that several times vice champion and bronze medalist. Today you run a club that is dedicated to bringing up young talents. Tell us why focus so much energy on bringing up athletes to take on the mountain race?
Really, we find so many young people around where I am here in Faku, but they are not serious in running. Then the race is running and the race is my passion. So I couldn't just stay looking things dying. You have young people today, people come from elsewhere, they win. Your own guys are there down around, so it really pushed me. Mostly the opportunity I had to be like the technical director in this club. I'm very happy for the initiative the Paramount Chief Dr. Robert Esuka Indeli brought to bring up a club, and so that we should train young people for posterity's sake to continue with the race. As we have left the stage, they too can continue.
Now, the other legend to honor this 50th anniversary of the race is Amos Ndumbe, who will be sitting alongside Regina Isoka. They have been chosen as legends to honor this very special edition of the race, and will be here very early in the morning to see the other generation hit the road for the 38-kilometer ascent to the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope. But before the race earlier on today, there was the official launching ceremony that has been chaired by the Minister of Sports and Physical Education, who represented the head of state. And within that occasion, you must have noticed there was a traditional ritual by the Bakweri chiefs that was made to keep the gods at peace with this event that has been on for so many years. It's not the first time. It's a tradition that comes up the day before the actual event, and it's been very joyful and exciting as we also watched youth from school establishments, associations, and also cultural associations take part in the official opening ceremony. So until then, we are expecting those to either replace the reigning champions Elvis Sambida and Karin Tata, or will still they maintain their title. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Dixon Ashu, for those updates. Over 600 of them have already been confirmed to be part of the race course this Saturday here at the Moliko Municipal Stadium. I should say everything has been put in place to ensure that the race takes place each free year, especially talking about security. This stadium is quite secured. We have security officers deployed all around the Moliko Municipal Stadium, everywhere in BUEA. There is no reason for you to be worried. There is no reason for you to be scared. I am very safe ever since I got to BUEA, and I'm safe tonight here at the Moliko Municipal Stadium prior to tomorrow's race course, which happens to be the culminating point of the 50th anniversary celebrations of the mountain race in Cameroon. Now we talk about the history of this race, remembering that the first edition took place way back in 1973, and between 1973 and 1996, where the race was rebaptized, there was a change of name from the mountain race, the Guinness Mount Cameroon race, to the Race of Hope before being the mountain race today. A series of generations, and that's what caught the attention of Gideon the Final Telso, who decided to talk about that in today's edition of Sports Vision. Hi, Gideon.
Hello, Baldwin. Good evening and welcome. In fact, I must have to say that from its humble beginnings on March 10, 1973, the Mount Cameroon race has grown from a group or a competition for a few indigenes into a huge mountain race whose aura goes beyond the country. As a matter of fact, iconic figures such as Mike Short, Father Walter Stifter, Timothy Lekunze, of course, Tata Thomas, why not people like Gapsubum Golof, not forgetting the Queen of the Mountain, Sarai Tonge, Kataren Gwang, and of course today, Tata Karin have made the race thick with excitement. As a matter of fact, in BUEA, the mountain race is always awaited, just like a child, their children waiting for Father Christmas. (1973, 2023), that makes it exactly 50 years that the thrill and sensation of the Mount Fako race has animated BUEA in particular and Cameroon as a whole. 50 years during which the town of BUEA has hosted renowned mountaineers from far and near. It is hard to forget the exploits of visiting Alice, such as the Italian Reverend Father Water Shifter, who is the only to have won the race 3 times consecutively, 1976, 1977, and 1978. What about the heroics of Mike Short from Britain with 2 historic wins in 1984 and 1985? We cannot forget the strength and savvy of the Swiss mountaineer Pierre-André Gobert, who is the last foreigner to win the race in 1990. What about Mukamurenzi, the Rwandan lady who gave Sarah Etonge, the queen of the mountain, a good run for the money in the early 90s? From Cameroon, the Mount Cameroon race, the Mount Cameroon race of hope, has been revealing of great mountaineers in the likes of Amos Evambe, who won the race in 1975, the late Timothy Lekunze, who put a stop to the domination of British mountaineer Mike Short in 1986, Tata Thomas, the only athlete to have won the race under the appellation Guinness Mount Cameroon race, that was in 1991-92, and in 1996 at the Mount Cameroon race of hope. What about the redoubtable Isoka Regional, who last won the race in 2016? Kongushe Joseph, who is remembered for his historic crawl to the finish line in 2007. Or the greatest among them, that is Godlove Gapsubum with his 5 wins in the male category. Who can forget the heroics of Sarah Liongo Etonge, nicknamed the Queen of the Mountain with 7 wins. Some of the victories being obtained after the age of 35 and mother of several children. We cannot forget her rivalry with a certain Gwan Katarine, who won 5 times. That is before the new generation of Yvonne Gwanya, the 7-time winners, Immaculate Wingo, Tata Karin, broke onto the scene recently. However, other 2 foreign mountaineers have ever won the race in the women's category since the ladies joined the competition in 1983. That is about 10 years after its inception in 1973. There are Fabiola Reda from Colombia in 1988 and Sally Goldsmith of Great Britain in 1990. From its humble beginnings in 1973, the Mount Cameroon race has survived the vicissitudes of regularity. From a ridiculous prize money of 30,000 and crates of beer, the prize money has steadily grown to 10 million today. After a major interruption in 1992, the Mount Cameroon race returned in 1996, this time as the Mount Cameroon race of hope to date. In BUEA, the population always awaits the Mount Cameroon race just as children waiting for Father Christmas. As a matter of fact, Mount Fako and the indigenous Bakwere people entertain a very close relationship. Beyond the cultural animation, the thrill of the event, the popularity and the excitement, the Mount Cameroon race of hope remains a huge challenge of endurance and courage to athletes as they go through the dense forest, the stony savanna, and rocky and volcanic summits characterized by fog and strong winds. And so, as over 500 athletes go for the 38-kilometer challenge up and down the Mount Fako to unseat incumbent Sabila Elvis, he will be amidst the chiming bells of the Golden Jubilee of Mount Cameroon race of hope. Well, Baldwin, you've seen it that the Mount Cameroon race remains an enigma. As a matter of fact, this race, you can never really tell the story in its entirety until you live it yourself. Well, the Efasa Moto mystery, that is the God of the Mountain mystery, where we hear that, we hear weird stories such as that an athlete can win 3 times consecutively, apart from Father Water Stifter, or that the different weird stories told by runners of the mountain, of stories where they drank bad water or whether they had warnings of being beaten to death if they were to win. Of course, it has also become part of the people of the BUEA, the mountain race. It is just like the teeth on the tongue. And of course, in BUEA, the people who wait the race every year with a lot of impatience. So, but the stories, the weird stories of the Fasa Moto and its prohibitions have continued rather to interest many riders or many elites from across the world.
Thank you so much, Gideon. The final tells us with those updates as concerns the history of the mountain race. You will not leave us. You will not leave us because just before coming to BUEA, you caught up with Hamad Kalkaba Malboum, the president of Cameroon's National Olympic and Sports Committee. I should say, he played a very key role some years back, precisely in 1996, when there was this switch over as concerns the name of the race to the Race of Hope. That's why we are celebrating the 28th edition of the Race of Hope in Cameroon, given the key role Hamad Kalkaba Malboum played in the choice of the Race of Hope some 28 years earlier. And Gideon, the final tells us, caught up with Hamad Kalkaba Malboum to find out why the choice of the name Race of Hope and what he remembers are some of the memorable moments of the mountain race he, as a former athlete, can easily remember. Greetings to you once more, Gideon.
Hello, Baudin. Well, they see the glory of an event or the glory of an event lies in its story. And so that's what the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope has. You know, it's 50 years that the race is being celebrated. Now, we can't talk about the Mount Cameroon Race without talking about the Race of Hope and the creator. The man who created it, we are with him today. He might not still be at the Athletics Federation where he created this thing, but he's now at the National Olympic and Sports Committee. He is the president of the National Sports Committee. He is Colonel Kalkaba Malboum. We met him to ask him 50 years down the line, or 27 years down the line, since he created the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope. What is your opinion?
I would like to go back again when Guinness Cameroon hosted the event. It was in 1973, and when they started the race, the pressure, the start of the race was just under the mountain in BUEA town. So I was aware of that. And in 1992, when Guinness organized the last event named Guinness Mount Cameroon Race, I was there with my athletes, as I was the head of the military sports bureau, and I went there with my athletes. So I was disappointed when Guinness made an announcement that they will stop the race. And then they have stopped the race. 1996, I decided to relaunch the Mount Cameroon race, but with a different view. First of all, I was the vice president of the International Military Sports Council, and we had our General Assembly in Beijing, China. He said 1995 was just 1 year before this 100 years anniversary of the International Olympic Committee of the Games. So the military sports wanted to organize an event, a special event. The first decision proposal was that we can organize the race from Marathon, the city where 2,500 years ago, the Persians and the Greeks had a battle. And then the Greeks won the battle. They gave the message to a soldier, and the soldier ran from Marathon to Athens to give the message that to announce that Greeks won the war. And then the soldier passed on. That's why Marathon became a very important event. But I said, since there, Marathon race is known. You have Berlin Marathon, New York Marathon, Paris Marathon. So it is not a new event to sensitize the world with the effort that we can do. So I made the proposal that in my country we have a race started from the stadium, and the athletes can go to the top of the mountain because there is no snow, and the mountain is 4,100 meter height. So I made the proposal, I made the presentation, and the General Assembly decided to support me. So I came back home with that idea, with the support of the International Military Sports Council. I went to BUEA, I met the governor, I explained to him the situation, but the governor didn't believe that it is possible for me to relaunch the event. And at that time too, our environment was very difficult. Politically, economically, people are saying this is the economic crisis, we cannot do that because the economic crisis, we cannot do this because the economic crisis. But I thought that economic crisis cannot be a disaster. We need to fight against the situation to overcome that difficulty. So it is up to the youth of the continent, the youth of Cameroon, to fight and to overcome that difficult situation. So I took the message to Chief Ndele. Chief Ndele understood me and he supported me very strongly. And when I get back to Yaoundé, I reported to the Minister of Defense and I reported to the head of state, asking him to send to the runners a message for hope. And I decided to call the race the Man Cameroon Race of Hope. Because if we don't have any hope in what we are doing, maybe we cannot achieve the goal that we want to achieve. So this is why in 1996, I had a very strong support from the international community. United Nations supported us through UNESCO. CNN came as a broadcaster. BBC came as a broadcaster. France Television were in BUEA. The Belgian television were in BUEA. And even CRTV decided to broadcast that event live. It was a very, very successful and wonderful event. The CRTV broadcast the event from 6 to 1 p.m. So it was wonderful. And I know many of your senior in CRTV, they were part of the active mission on the mountain.
Okay, Mr. President, now we've heard about how you came about creating this event. Can we know your impression now that it's been 27 years that the Race of Hope has been on, even though the race is 50 years today?
I can say that the hope is on. The hope didn't disappear. So I'm happy for that because we need to support our youth to hope in the future. And the other thing is that we don't have the same coverage at the international level. But the fact that the Man Cameroon Race of Hope is organized every year, for me, I'm really satisfied with the way that that event is growing. Even the prize money has been increased because when I organized that event in 1996, the prize money that I offered to the athletes was 1.5 million for the man and 1.5 million for the lady. The Guinness used to give 300,000 for women and 500,000 for the man. The woman or man, they are running on the same distance, and then they are facing the same difficulties. So money was at that level, but I changed everything, and now I know that the prize money is 10 million CFA francs. It is good. It is a good progress. But for me, I think if we want to promote that event internationally, it is important for us to increase the prize money. I can suggest that we can offer $50,000 to the winner, man or woman. So that could attract certainly the best runner of the world. And then that could also show Cameroon on the map of the world as a particular specific event. This race is something very important for us, for promoting tourism, for promoting the idea of effort, and of course, it is the Race of Hope.
Okay, Mr. President, today you are the head of the Cameroon National Olympic and Sports Committee. What can you do, or what could be done at your level to help the Man Cameroon Race of Hope?
First of all, I would like to respect my federation, because as the president of the African Athletics Confederation, I am automatically a member of the board of the National Federation of Cameroon. So I have my president, so I can suggest some issue, like I'm saying now, they can increase the prize money. But it is not just the federation that can do that. The government must take this race very seriously, because it shows a great image of our country. So for sure, I will insist to talk to the Minister of Sports, maybe to the higher hierarchy, to convince them that the prize money could be increased to $50,000 or $100,000.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, for coming to the Dr.
Thank you, sir.
Well, but in summer, you understand, we could not have the man Cameroon race celebrate his 50th anniversary without meeting the man who created the race, who has perpetuated the race, which was about in 1992. Of course, remember that in 1996, he created the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope, and it's been 27 years down the line. And so we're talking with him on Sport Vision today to ask him what he thinks about the race and what he thinks can be done to improve on the race. Thank you very much.
Indeed, Gideon, the final tells you cannot write a history book talking about athletics in Cameroon without mentioning the name of Hamad Kalkaba Malboum, who happens to be a household name with regards to athletics in Cameroon. And that's why on the occasion of this 50th anniversary of the Mount Cameroon Race here in BUEA tomorrow, he is represented during these celebrations here in BUEA by the Secretary General of the National Olympic and Sports Committee, David Ojong, who is here in BUEA, and we have been told that Hamad Kalkaba Malboum is glued before his TV set back there in Yaoundé watching Sports Vision live this evening, live from the Moliko Municipal Stadium in BUEA. And talking about the mountain race, we cannot avoid talking about some of these athletes who through their individual efforts have been able to distinguish themselves from other athletes. I should say they have been able to write their different names in gold in the annals of the history book for the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope. Most of them have won the race course several times. Others have either emerged second or third in the male category. We can talk about athletes like Godlove Gapsibwim, Irving Bacha, Tata Thomas, or likewise Elvis Sabila, who won the race last year in the male category, and likewise in the women's category. We can talk about athletes like Seva Lyongo Itonge, the Queen of the Mountain, Yvonne Guaya, Catherine Guang, Galim Lizette, and why not Satata Kavin, who is today standing out tall amongst other female athletes. And that's why Rene Kache-Echu, a son of Menchum in the Northwest region, born and bred in Tole, here in the Southwest region of Cameroon, a lover of athletics, took interest in some of these household names in the world of the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope, and that's his bid on Sports Vision this evening. Greetings to you, Rene.
Well, Badwin, the history of this competition cannot be complete without making mention of names like Reverend Father Walter Stifter, as well as Mike Short. These are very, very emblematic, athletes who took part in this competition in the 1970s and, of course, the 1980s. For example, Reverend Father Walter Stifter, was a missionary priest from Mill Hill who was settled out there in Banyo, in the north region of the country, and always came from the northern part of Cameroon to participate in this competition. He was a missionary priest between 1976 and 1996. Since its inception in 1973, the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope has produced some spectacular records and breathtaking performances. While some of these records remain intact, others have been broken, as many more could be said. Till date, Father Stifter remains the only male athlete to have won the race 3 times in succession. That is in 1976, 1977 and 1978. The Italian Reverend gentleman would have extended his winning streak to 4 had the race not been suspended in 1979. In 1984, another expatriate, Mike Short, a professional athlete from England, broke Father Walter Stifter's 1977 record by 12 minutes. This meant a new mountain hero had been born. His unprecedented dominance continued in 1985 when he set a new record in descending the mountain, breaking his 1984 overall record by 10 minutes. During the 1986 edition of the race, the question was whether Mike Short would equal Walter Stifter's record of 3 successive wins and break his own race record for a second time. Locals swore that Efasamoto would not allow a short victory. In the end, Timothy Lekulekunze from Lebialem in the Southwest region came in first and Mike Short second. Records were only set again in the 2000s, with Cameroonian athletes taking center stage. There was notably very stiff competition between Bacha Eric and Godlove Gapsibwim, and this arguably paved the way for these records. In 2020, for example, Godlove Gapsibwim set a new record, winning the race for the 5th time. With such an incredible feat, Gapsibwim is the most successful athlete in the male category. He first won the race in 2012 and later in 2013. He would go on to win the competition in 2015 and 2018 before winning again in 2021. And surprisingly, or even coincidentally, all the time that Gapsebwin Gottlof actually won this competition, the previous winner was Eric Mbacha, who had a huge propensity and potential in order to carve a niche for himself in the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope. But the Cameroonian athlete decided to settle out there in Finland, where he's equally doing massively well for himself as far as athletics is concerned. Since 1973 that the race started, Gapsebwin is the only person that has won it 5 times. He is followed by British-born Walter Stifter, Gonga Ponga Shal and Eric Mbacha, who have all won the race 3 times each. And how can you talk about records of the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope without mentioning the name Kongwishe Joseph? His dramatic and spectacular finish in the 2007 edition remains one of the best in the 50-year-old history of the competition. The women's category has also had its fair share of excitement as well as impressive records. 2 women were outstanding, but many more were impressive. Sierra Liengu Itonge is arguably the biggest record holder in the history of the race, and that is why she's called the Queen of the Mountain. Only 2 female foreign athletes have won the race twice. Fabiola Rueda from Colombia in 1988 and Siley Goldsmith from Great Britain in 1990. Also, since 1996, the female category has had just 4 winners. Sierra Liengu Itonge, who has won 7 times, Catherine Guang 5 times, and Yvonne Guaya 5 consecutive times. Immaculate Wingotari has also won, just like Tata Karin and Galim Lizette. And so those were some of the exciting records created and of course broken by athletes, you know, from the yesteryear and even in the late 2000s. And that's how we saw this edition of contribution from the economic capital city Douala on the eve of the 2023 edition of the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope for Africa. Obviously, lots of Douala residents are going to be in the city of BUEA to participate in this edition of the competition. Thanks for having me once more on the program, Baldwin Sama. My name is Rene Kacher with the contribution of Romuald Sechak on the cameras. I'll leave you with this: never say die until the bones are rotten. Over.
Thank you so much, Rene Kache. And when you talk about many Douala residents hitting the road for BUEA tomorrow morning, I see where you're going to. See you in BUEA tomorrow morning, Rene Kache, for the 50th anniversary of the mountain race in BUEA tomorrow, Saturday. I know you'll be here with us for the live broadcast for this event here at the Moliko Omnisport Stadium. And did you know, I'm just confirming to most who already know that most of these athletes taking part in the race because they train with different athletics clubs based there in Bamenda in the northwest region of Cameroon, where we are told over 150 athletes from the northwest region will be taking part in this year's edition of the race. And most of those who've won the race hail from the northwest region of Cameroon in both categories. For example, Tata Kavin, Yvonne Guanya, Catherine Guang, even Galim Lizette hail from the northwest region of Cameroon. And in the male category, talk about athletes like Gottlof Gapsebwin, Eric Mbacha, Tata Thomas, and a host of others who train with different athletics clubs back there in the northwest region of Cameroon. How ready was the Northwest Athletics Bureau ready to send the over 150 athletes representing that region in this year's edition of the race? And how ready are they to secure at least the first 3 spots in either of the categories this Saturday? A lady on board Sports Vision, the Abakwa Connection this evening, Clenis Ayombom joins us live from one of the studios of CRTV Northwest in Bamenda. Greetings to you, Clenis.
Good evening, Badwin, and welcome to the Northwest Region's chief capital, Bamenda, where it is freezing cold this night, but there are 128 athletes who are already warming up to take part in this year's Mount Cameroon Race of Hope to kickstart in some few hours from now. We have 6 of them in the veteran category, 40 of them in the junior category, and 82 others who will be representing the region in the senior categories. We have names like Gottlof Gapsebwin, who mounted the podium last year, Karin Tata also. Most of them are drawn from the Menchum division, Donga Mantung, and BUEA heavyweight divisions of the Northwest region. And it should also be noted that the Northwest region is reputed for their excellent performance at the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope. We'll now turn our attention to the Secretary General of the Northwest Regional League of Athletics, Maxime Cholangai, who will be telling us what accounts for the reputation that the Northwest region has been able to maintain when it comes to the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope.
We have a very organized structure in the Northwest. We do not have too many clubs. Because we do not have too many clubs, it is easier to follow these clubs up. Now, the only problem we have is most clubs that produce athletes for the mountain race are based in Kumbo, Kambe, Du, those areas. They're a little far, but it helps in preparation because number one, those areas are more hilly. It's easier to prepare for a mountain race in an area that is hilly instead of preparing in Bamenda town, which is flat. So that gives them the added advantage of being prepared properly. And because the clubs there are fully functional, we have fully functional clubs there. That gives us the advantage of having competitive preparation. People from the grass field are usually born with a natural tendency to do well in long distance races. And second, to the specific training and the culture of distance running. There is a strong culture of distance running in the Northwest region. We have very good long distance runners. We have always had the best long distance runners in the country. That transfers to the mountain race itself, since it is the I would say the biggest of the long distance races in the country. It is only natural that those who are more disposed to perform well in long distance races perform well at the mountain race. Dragging the track records of the Northwest across the years, you see we have always done well at the mountain race. Again, some even go as far as to say it's a race for the Northwest. I'll not go too far. I'll show the dominance of the Northwest in saying, for example, that we had 2 podiums last year for the senior men's category and all the 3 podiums for the women's senior category. That tells you, and it's more or less the same thing. You go back and you see legends of the race, Gatsibwin, Tata Thomas, Sabinla, you see Tata Karin, Tumi, we came in new, whom we're going to see again this year. We have always had that culture, we've had that competitive dominance. You come in new and you are expected to continue in the same line. So I would say we keep going there with the hope to win, and with our preparations that we have done properly, and of course with the help and blessing of God, we are ready.
Of course, Baldwin, the Northwest region is ready, as most of the 128 athletes to represent the region in this year's Mount Cameroon Race of Hope are already in the Southwest region, that is in BUEA, where the race is going to take place. And it should be noted that they traveled early just to familiarize themselves with the climate, the food, and everything that is going to facilitate their excellent performance, as usual, in this year's Mount Cameroon Race of Hope. And we can only wish them good luck, hoping that they are going to bring the glory back to Bamenda, the city of the future, and why not to the Northwest region.
Thank you so much, Clenis Sayumbom. I understand it's so cold in Bamenda tonight. Go get some rest, and tomorrow stay glued before your TV sets to watch the race live on CRTV Sports and Entertainment. I'm talking about the athletes from the Northwest region of Cameroon. They are all here in BUEA. I saw most of them this earlier today during the official opening ceremony, and I was discussing with Godlove Gapsibwim, who was not quite convinced as to an impressive performance on his part during the race tomorrow, given that he's now specialized in training younger athletes athlete. He is of the older generation, as per what he was explaining to me. If he emerges amongst the first 3, according to Godlove Gabsibrim, then it's going to be a major surprise for him. But everything is possible as far as athletics is concerned. We are looking forward to watching that race course live tomorrow. And let's talk about some of these 4 athletes who have been quite unique, stamping their authority, equally winning the different editions of the mountain race. We cannot go without talking about the pioneer, Reverend Walter Stifter, Reverend Father Walter Stifter, who the Italian priest who was the first to win the mountain race, and we cannot equally go without talking about Mike Short and Daniel Ekonde. Took interest in some of these foreign athletes who have been quite unique, being amongst those to have won any of the editions of the mountain race, and now joins us on Sports Vision. Greetings to you, Daniel.
Hi, Baldwin. The Mount Cameroon Race of Hope had foreign winners as early as 1976. That's 3 years after the race started. From Reverend Father Walter Stifter in 1976 to André Pierre Gobert in 1990. The race had 4 Europeans that dominated the competition throughout that period. But Reverend Father Walter Stifter had a remarkable run. The Italian dominated the race. That's 1976, 1977 and 1978. The only athlete, male, to have won the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope 3 times in a row in the race's 50 years of existence. Let's leave that remarkable run by the Reverend Father. These are pictures from the 1986 Mount Cameroon race. The grueling 29-kilometer race at that time was won by Timothy Lekunze. Lekunze managed to secure the race again in 1987. That was the end. He couldn't achieve a hat-trick of wins because Mount Cameroon is rock-like, complicated, and sometimes a frustrating ground for conquerors. But this man, a Reverend Father out of the blue, had won the race thrice several years ago. Reverend Father Walter Stifter, born in Italy, is the only male athlete to have won the Mount Cameroon race 3 times on a spin. His phenomenal run, which started in 1976, paved a way for foreign athletes to conquer the chariot of the gods. When the race began in 1973, only Cameroonian runners emerged winners in the first 3 editions. Their loud and hectoring success became a myth. No other stranger could win the race as a Fasamoto. The mountain god would not allow it. Yet Stifter, a Mill Hill missionary priest who had just taken up vocation at the Gaura Diocese, took the locals by storm and won the 1976 edition, becoming the first foreigner to prevail. Stifter had used his wooden sticks and wonderful athleticism to ascend and descend the highest point in Western Central Africa in 4 hours, 37 minutes. In 1977, Stifter was at it again. The Italy-born clergy reached the summit and back in 4 hours, 19 minutes, beating his personal time record with a difference of 18. At that time, the priest had become immortal in front of the chariot of the gods, such that some locals thought his purity and simplicity had won the heart of the mountain god, a Fasamoto, that it would allow Stifter win at any point. He successfully defended his title in 1978 and became the only male athlete to win the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope 3 times in a row. Stifter couldn't run for his 4th title in 1979 when Guinness, the brewery company that organized the race at that time, suspended it until 1981. His blazing performance had already caused a stir within some locals who believed he shouldn't be running, rather should give way for Cameroonian runners. Stifter was an extraordinary athlete on and off the tracks. He had excelled in gymnastics and art as a student in Italy. That launchpad provided stints in Olympic teams and made him a hard worker. As a priest, he worked in Cameroon from 1975 to 2003. Reverend Father Walter Stifter was called by God at the age of 83 on January 12, 2021. His outstanding record as the only male runner to have conquered the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope thrice in a row still stands 45 years later. What an incredible run from the Reverend Father. His wins paved the way for more Europeans to win the Mount Cameroon Race. You talk about Mike Schott in 1984-1985. You talk about Jack Maitland as well as Pierre-André Gorbet in 1990. Let's see what these guys did in this report. Mike Schott nearly equaled Stifter's incredible record. First, he broke Stifter's 1977 triumph by finishing 12 minutes faster when he took the race in 1984. It had been a long period of no foreign victory. The Englishman snapped that. In 1985, when locals were keen on a Cameroonian win, Schott burst from the belly of the mountain and grabbed his second victory on a bounce. It was a matter of great anticipation in 1986 whether the Englishman would catch up with Stifter's run of 3 consecutive Mount Cameroon Race of Hope wins. However, Schott fell short, and it was Timothy Lekunze who arose winner of the mountain run, his maiden victory. It took 3 years for another non-Cameroonian to win the Mount Cameroon race, and that was Jack Maitland in 1989. Maitland overran Ngu Njombe, who caused controversy when it took just 20 minutes to reach Hetwan from BUEA town, the initial kickoff point. That incident prompted organizers to move the later editions to the Moliko Stadium, an addition of 9 kilometers to the antecedent 29. Pierre-André Gorbet, the Swiss, grabbed the race to the neck in 1990, clearly defining 2 years of domination from 2 different European nationals. Gorbet is the last foreigner to win the Mount Cameroon race. So Pierre-André Gorbet's 1990 win put a cap for now on Europeans who've won the Mount Cameroon race. In fact, foreigners who've won the Mount Cameroon race. And since then, it's been dominated by Cameroonians for almost more than 3 decades now. We don't know what 2023 will look like. Perhaps on the 25th of February, we will find out.
Thank you so much, Daniel Ekonde, reporting live from one of the makeshift studios at the CRTV regional station here in BUEA. Go get some rest, Daniel. I understand you have to be up very early. You will have to climb the mountains as early as 4 a.m. because you'll be reporting from Hut 2 this Saturday on the occasion of the 28th edition of the Race of Hope. Courage to you. And one of those who will be quite excited to be part of those officiating this 28th edition of the Race of Hope is the governor of the Southwest region, Bernard Okalia Bilai, who for several years has been governor of this region and has witnessed different editions of the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope. We caught up with him. Mr. Governor, good evening, and tell us what's it feeling like being governor of the Southwest region on the occasion of the 50th anniversary of the mountain race?
It's a blessing for me because history will remember that the 50th anniversary took place when I was officiating as governor. And it's a pride to see that the preparations is well done, is carried out with a lot of enthusiasm. The populations are mobilizing as this event. It's not only a sport event, it's a cultural event, it's a political event, and it's a cultural event because the chiefs, the custodian of the culture of this area, always seize the opportunity of this event to demonstrate their cultures, their various cultural activities. And it's also an opportunity for the population here to demonstrate their sense of hospitality, as BUEA is known as the city of legendary hospitality. So I'm satisfied to know that the head of state will has accepted and will send a personal representative on his behalf to patronage this.
Yes, Mr. Governor, you have witnessed different editions of the mountain race as governor of the Southwest region. Let me find out from you, which are some of these special memories you keep of the mountain race?
Very difficult moment with the crisis. The populations of BUEA always come out to encourage the athlete. They are mobilizing to come and support the event. They defeat all the threat, and they carry all the necessary activities to accompany and to support the event. It's something very, very encouraging, and I cannot forget it, because sometimes 4 or 5 years ago we were not expecting the event to take place, but the population came out, the traditional ruler came out, the inhabitant of BUEA came out to support the event. So that's what I keep in memory, and I see on it a lot of attachment to this event. The event is no longer, when I see it, it is no longer a local event. It is no longer an event. It's an international event, a worldwide event, and I'm very, very satisfied and happy that the population know that the event goes beyond BUEA, goes beyond Cameroon, and they must continue to support it.
And finally, Mr. Governor, what special message do you have for the population of the Southwest region of Cameroon, for them to turn on massively and get to watch the race course this Saturday?
The city of legendary hospitality, the port of national integration since the colonial days. You know that we have in BUEA people born the second or third generation who don't have any, who are not Bakwarian or Bafor, but who don't have any other village. Their grandfather were born here, they too were born here, and they consider BUEA as their own village without speaking the local language. So BUEA, the population of BUEA should remain there themselves, to come out massively, not to listen to those our misguided compatriots who want to bring troubles, who want to.
We apologize for the technical hitches noticed in this edition of Sports Vision ever since we started broadcast this evening in BUEA. We are really, really sorry for most of these technical hitches. We're going in for a hitch-free program for Sports Vision this Friday on the occasion of the 50th anniversary of the mountain race here in BUEA. And we will now talk about one of our lead stories, to talk about the Women's Football World Cup, where Cameroon's football lionesses have failed to qualify for this year's Women's Football World Cup after losing at the final playoffs against Portugal, 1-2. That was on Thursday, after being part of the 2015-2019 Women's World Cups, respectively. Unfortunately, 2023, the lionesses will not be there. To tell the story of how they were present in 2015 and 2019 and how they won't be present in 2023, it's a lady on the beat from Bafoussam, Chanceline Nanzier. Greetings to you, Chanceline.
Hi, Baldwin. I hope the city of legendary hospitality is giving you a good dose of it this evening. It would have been a lovely thing if the indomitable Lionesses of Cameroon qualified for the FIFA Women's World Cup Australia and New Zealand 2023, but unfortunately, they lost to Portugal 1-0 on Wednesday. But that's not our interest this evening, Baldwin. We want to look at the performance of the indomitable Lionesses in their past 2 participations at the FIFA Women's World Cup. Cameroon's indomitable Lionesses first hit the world stage in 2015 in Canada. They qualified after finishing as runners-up of the 2014 Africa Women's Championship and saw on that fateful June 9, 2015, the then coach Carl Enongacho and his girls opened a new page in Cameroon's football history. That day, Cameroon feasted on Ecuador, beating them 6-0 in a game that saw the award of 3 penalties to Cameroon. Gael Deborah Nganamut got a hat-trick, while Ngono Mani, Christine Mani and Gabrielle Abudi Ongene scored a goal each. Cameroon lost to Japan in their second group game 1-2. Chudnjoya Ajara scored Kani to book a spot in the knockout stage of the competition. They finished second in Group C with 6 points. Team Cameroon could only go as far as the round of 16 after Wang Shangshan's 12th-minute goal propelled the People's Republic of China to the quarterfinals at the detriment of Cameroon. The indomitable Lionesses came back again in 2019 under coach Alain Jemfa. Just like in 2015, they played 4 games. Team Cameroon started the French expedition on a rather negative note, losing to Canada 0-1.
Just a 4th goal in an 89th appearance. Canada lead Cameroon by a 0-0.
The Netherlands flogged them 3-1 on March Day 2, with current captain Gabrielle Abudi Ongene netting in Cameroon's lone goal.
Cameroon strike back almost immediately. And Ongene able to do what was required.
A 2-1 win over Switzerland on March Day 3 saved Cameroon from early elimination. All 3 goals of the encounter came from Cameroon. Forward, Chudnjoya Ajara found the back of the net twice, while Marie Aurel Awona scored an own goal. Cameroon finished 3rd in Group E with 3 points. Just the needed number to book them a ticket for the round of 16 as best losers. After the women were separated from the girls, Cameroon was faced with a stronger opponent, England. It was a clash of lionesses, with the English Lionesses spanking the indomitable Lionesses 3-0. And unfortunately, Baldwin, the indomitable Lionesses will have to wait again for the next 4 years to see whether they will book a spot for the 2027 FIFA Women's World Cup. And that's also going to depend on their performance at the 2026 Africa Women's Cup of Nations. We are hoping that by that time they would have gained a lot of maturity and that they will be able to sail through to at least the semi-finals of the competition in 2026. Until then, it's bye-bye from this end.
Thank you so much, Chanceline Nanzi. I understand the disappointment. You were really optimistic having the Lionesses take part in this year's edition of the Women's Football World Cup, given that they have all what it takes to be part of that competition. Unfortunately, it's football. They will have to wait for the next 4 years to see themselves sail through. And talking about disappointments, there was another disappointment in Garoua this evening, talking about Coton Sport of Garoua, Cameroon's flag bearer at the ongoing CAF Champions League, where they lost their second group outing this evening, playing against Al Hilal of Sudan. Coton Sport opened scores thanks to Pasiang Wasu. That was during the first 45 minutes of the match, much to the satisfaction of football lovers in Garoua and supporters of Coton Sport of Garoua. Unfortunately, the Cotton Weavers lost steam during the last 45 minutes of the game and had to concede 2 goals from Al Hilal of Sudan. These 2 goals that came to surprise Coton Sport of Garoua. Look at that free kick, which was the equalizer from Al Hilal of Sudan. 2 goals that punished Coton Sport of Garoua, who are now buried at the last spot in their group. After 2 matches played, they have been unable to secure just a draw, and now they have secured just 2 defeats for Coton Sport of Garoua, which raises lots of questions as to Coton Sport of Garoua, shining at home but disappointing at the international scene. They can easily win the championship, they can easily win the Cup of Cameroon, but lately, when it concerns the CAF Cup competitions or the CAF Champions League, it is quite difficult for Coton Sport of Garoua to excel. What exactly was the problem with Coton Sport of Garoua? We caught up with our sports analyst Francis Nkwine, who is a sports analyst based in London, in the United Kingdom, to talk about this disappointing performance of Coton Sport of Garoua at the international scene as compared to their beautiful performance at the local scene. Francis?
Coton Sport, unquestionably the most successful Cameroonian team of recent memory. 17 times winners of the National League, 6 times runners-up, 7 times winners of the National Cup. Currently sitting 1 point off the top of the Elite One Group A, I believe it is. Having a pretty decent season, as they always seem to be able to do. But on that international and Pan-African level, continuing to suffer. 1 game so far, 1 defeat to Mamelodi Sundowns, 1 goal scored, 3 goals conceded, -3. And since 2008, that's 14 years ago, they have not participated in the finals of a Champions League. That leads to some questions. And if we attempt to answer this at present, my humble suggestion would begin with one of ambition. I don't necessarily think that the club has as its DNA ambition, enshrined in its spirit, the desire to be the all-conquering Pan-African team. I think they want to build a history, first of all, domestically, as being the best in that space, in our space, and maybe from there they begin to build on top of that. Secondly, I also believe it's a question of the regularity of the quality of the competition that they face on a weekly basis. The Elite One domestic league is not necessarily as competitive as others, meaning therefore that some of these players and the coaching staff are not necessarily faced with qualitative opposition on a weekly basis in formats that ensure their players and their style of play is brought into regular question at the very highest level. This is truly important. It's important for teams to build a habit of playing elite football week in, week out. And I think sometimes the quality of our league, whilst it's improving, still has a way to go. Added to that is the question of coaching. If you also look at the quality of the coaches at play, the coach of Coton Sport, Mr. Parfait, will be coming up against. These are seasoned international coaches, whether it's Mr. Bege, who used to take care of the Congolese national team, or Mr. Kohler, who used to be the boss of the Austrian national team. I mean, these are coaches of very high pedigree, and it will be extremely important for the coach of Coton Sport to step up along with his staff, along with his players, to match this quality. So my suggestion, humble as it may be, is that we accept that the club maybe is seeking domestic dominance at present, and the time will come where it will lay its ducks in a row and will be able to compete, especially with the emergence of the African Super League being created by Mr. Motsepe, the owner also of Mamelodi Sundowns. It's an interesting few years to come for the Pan-African game on the continent, and teams like Coton Sport will be at the forefront of this battle, leading the Cameroonian charge, we hope. But if and only if they're able to enshrine into their DNA the ambition of wanting to be the best of the African space, also acquiring the capacity of the talent that can manage and produce and play the best type of Pan-African football, and also afford themselves the means to be able to recruit the sort of talent, retain the quality of talent through salaries and bonuses that will permit them to punch amongst the big hitters of the Pan-African game.
Thank you so much, Francis. That's the package we had for you on Sports Vision this evening. Once more, want to apologize for the technical hitches noticed throughout this edition of Sports Vision, broadcast live from the Moliko Municipal Stadium on the occasion of the 28th edition of the Mount Cameroon Race. Hope take the appointment with us tomorrow from 6:30 a.m. here at this same stadium for a live broadcast of this race. On behalf of the entire production team, we say bye-bye and good night.